Hello, my name is Lilian Okibe. Welcome to my channel. Should you use hair products or like oils in your locks? I often get that question and I get it. Like I completely understand why people who are just starting out, or even like if you've been on your lock journey for a while, I understand why you may be curious about this, because somehow in the lock community, we all cannot agree on the answer to this question. Some people say that you should not use products at all, like they're professional locticians who say you should not use products at all. There are people who think that you should use products on only your scalp. Some people think you should use products on the length of your locks. Some people think you should use products like all over your hair, both on your locks and on your scalp, right? So we can't seem to agree on which is the best option. So in today's video, we're going to be talking all about whether you should be using products in your locks or not. And if you're someone who is in a phase right now where you're trying to figure out which option will be best for you, hopefully at the end of this video you'll be able to decide the best option for you. So if that sounds like something that you're interested in, then please keep on watching. Now, first thing we're going to be talking about today is the disadvantages of using products in your locks, like problems that can arise if you use products in your locks, and basically the reasons why people who say that you should not use products at all, like what they have at the back of their mind or what influences that advice, right? So now the first reason why people may say that you should not use products at all in your locks is the fact that when you use products in your locks, your chances of getting build up or having products build up is a lot higher. However, it is possible for you to have build up or something that looks like build up in your locks, even if you use absolutely no products in your locks. And I talked all about that in one of my videos where I talked about build up in general. So I'm going to link that video in the iCards if you're interested. But generally speaking, when you invite products into your locks, your chances of getting product build up increases. And that's one of the reasons why people say that you should not use products at all. Now, another reason why people advise that you should not use products in your locks is that when you start using products in your locks, you may start to experience dryness as a result of products, because most products contain oils, and like oils serve as a sealant, obviously. So what that means is, like, when you moisturize your hair or your locks, in this case, if you apply oil on top of your hair after you have moisturized, your chances of your hair takes longer to dry out than if you apply no oil whatsoever. But in the same sense, if you have oil on your hair, as soon as your hair is dry, if you have oil on your hair while your hair is dry, the fact that you have oil on the surface of your hair, it is more difficult for your hair to absorb moisture. And so if you're always using product, and generally speaking, most store-bought products that you're going to find, even if like it's not like raw oil, right? Even if you're using like a mist or whatever, or whatever, most hair products that you're going to buy from the store has some form of oil in there. And so if you're putting in a lot of products in your locks, or like if you're putting in products on your locks and you're not washing all that product out, this can be one of the reasons. This can cause dryness, because now your hair is not going to be able to absorb moisture, because it has that layer of oil that is like blocking or like coating your hair and preventing moisture from going out, right? And moisture from coming in. So if your hair is dry, if your strands are dry and you have oil on top of it, when you go ahead and moisturize and spray your water and pour water or whatever, your hair will not be able to soak in all that moisture, and that can lead to dryness. So this is another reason why people advise that you should not use oils or products in general, because they feel like this can make your locks dry. Another reason why people may say that you should not use products whatsoever or oils, right, is that when you introduce products into your locks, like I said earlier, most products contain some oil in them. Your chances of getting lint buildup increases, right? Because when you have like oil, especially when your hair is greasy, your hair attracts dust, it attracts lint, it attracts dirt and the likes. And so your chances of having lint build up in your locks and even dust build up is a lot higher. I don't know, like when I was in secondary school, because I went to boarding school, and so we'll have moments where when maybe we've run out of our shoe polish, and then some people go ahead and apply oil or like Vaseline on their shoes. And you notice that as soon as you apply like the oil or like the Vaseline on your shoe and you shine the shoe, it's going to look shiny and everything. But as soon as you step outside, before you know it, like just give yourself like 5 to 10 minutes, like your shoe is like all dusty, and if you're walking on sand, it's like all sandy and everything like that, because the fact that you have oil, like, or like Vaseline or any form of oil whatsoever on your shoe, it attracts more dust and dirt. So it's something like that that happens also with our hair. When you have oils on your hair, especially when your hair feels oily, it attracts a lot of dust and dirt and lint, and so this is another reason why people would say that you should not use products or oils in your locks, so that you can avoid this. Another reason why people may say that you should not use products or oils in your locks is the fact that when you have a lot of products in your hair, you tend to break out on your face because, or on your face, on your back, on your neck and things like that, because your hair, most times, depending on however you like to style your hair, you're not wearing your hair up all the time, if you allow your hair to hang down, your hair tends to rub on your skin, right? And so most of those oils that we put in our hair, like when your hair has a lot of oils in there or like a lot of products in there, when those products get on your skin, it can cause you to break out, and so if you notice that you're always having acne and you're always wearing your hair down, it may be that the reason why you have acne is because of the products that you're using, or the fact that you're using products in your hair and you're using a lot of products, and that can cause acne. So that's another reason why people may say that you should not use products in your hair, to prevent acne as a result of like greasy hair. Now, another reason why people may say that you should not use products is the fact that all that money that you're spending on products kind of adds up, right? So obviously someone who spends zero money whatsoever on hair products is not going to have that extra expense. Like, even if you're spending just like $1 or $2 on whatever products that you're using, the fact that you're spending that, by the time you add that up, it adds up. And depending on like your financial situation, whether you're trying to say blah blah blah, that can be something that you had to look into, depending on whether or not you're a product junkie or whatever. So that's another reason why people may say that you should not use products in your locks or in hair in general, right? So these are the major reasons why people who say that you should not use products, hair products or oils, these are the major reasons why they advise that you should not. Now let's go ahead and talk about the benefits that you can get from using hair products or using oils in general, and why people who encourage that you should use oils and products encourage you to do that. Now, the first reason why people may say that you should use products in your hair, in your locks, is because of moisture, helping to keep your hair or your locks moisturized. Now, the truth of the matter is moisture comes from water, right? So for a lot of people, they don't need external products to moisturize their hair, because as long as you have good water running down your tap, or even if you go ahead and buy maybe distilled water or whatever, and you spray it into your hair is already getting some moisture. But the role that products and like oils have to play is that when you apply products on your hair, after you have sprayed some water on your hair, what happens is it helps to keep your hair moisturized a little longer, and so if you're someone who is battling with dry hair, using products in your hair can help to combat this, right? And that can help your hair feel more like silky and like soft and like moisturized a lot longer than someone who doesn't use products at all. But another reason why people advise that you should use products, and I feel like this is something that many people who are against using products do not really see the sense, like do not really talk about, is that products serve as a protective layer on your hair, on like the strands of your hair. So it protects your hair from things like sun damage, because what many people don't know is, as you go about your day, as you're exposed to the sun and everything like that, the UV rays of the sun can damage your hair, just like the UV rays of the sun can damage your skin, right? And so if you're always going out without any layer of protection on your hair, like, you notice that people who don't use products at all in their locks, you notice that they tend to have sun bleaching happen a lot quicker. And for those of you who may not know this, sun tends to bleach the hair. So like, just like when you go out in the sun, right, the sun kind of like tans your skin. So in addition to that tanning, the UV rays of the sun has some form of damage that it does to your skin, and something like that also happens with your hair. As you go outside, the sun has UV rays that is kind of damaging, right? Now when you go ahead and go out with products, hair products, it serves as like an extra layer of protection, an extra layer of coating to reduce, or in some cases prevent, how much the sun can damage your hair. And so you notice that people who don't use any products whatsoever, you notice that their hair tends to bleach quicker due to the sun exposure. So if you compare someone who doesn't use products at all and someone who uses products in their locks, like on the length of their locks, you're going to notice that the person who doesn't use products at all, you see that their locks rather tends to turn brownish a lot quicker than someone who uses product. And that's because for many people who use products, especially if you're using products that have ingredients that have sun protection factor, or if you're using oils that have sun protection factor, this kind of helps to reduce or like prevent how fast the sun like acts on your hair strands and like damages your hair strands. You know, one of the signs of sun damage is dryness, extreme dryness. And so when you have that layer of protection, aka products on your hair, it actually helps to reduce how fast or like how much the sun can damage your hair. So apart from the sun, like there are other elements in the atmosphere that can damage your hair or like can cause issues in your hair. So having that extra layer of products can help to serve as like a barrier between your hair and the damaging elements. For example, if you're someone who likes to swim in pools have a lot of like chlorine. Even if it's not chlorine, like if you like to go in the ocean to swim, this ocean has a lot of like salt in there, and salt water can actually be damaging, can eat into your hair. So when you have that layer of products or like oils on your hair, it reduces how much of the chlorine water from your pool or like, you know, what's it called, salt water from the ocean that your hair absorbs. And this helps to reduce how much damage that your hair can go through, like your hair strands can go through when you know, go out to swim and do things like that. So generally speaking, products, oils tend to serve as a layer of protection for the hair. This leads us to the next advantage, which is it helps to, you know, improve the sheen and the shine of your hair. And that's because when your hair is damaged, it tends to look a lot more dull, right? And so when products help to prevent damage, it helps to maintain like the natural sheen and shine of your hair. And so you notice that if you're using products in your hair tends to, apart from like, it's not just about the fact that the products add artificial shine to your hair, you know, and I'm going to be talking about that later on in this video, is the fact that when you use products correctly, especially when it comes to locks, you're not aiming for having the products add that artificial shine to your hair. What you're aiming for is you're using products to kind of like help to protect your hair such that that natural sheen and shine that your hair has, it remains there for as long as possible, right? Now, another advantage of using products, oils aka products in your locks, is it can help to heal your hair and heal your scalp and things like that whenever there is damage. So especially when it comes to locks, if you're someone who, you know, retwists or like separates and like pops and things like that, all those activities cause some form of trauma. No matter how gentle you are, the process of like separating your locks or like retwisting your locks can cause some form of damage on your scalp and sometimes even the length of your locks. But right now, let's even focus on the scalp, right? And so when you apply products on your hair, especially like healing oils, like oils that have healing properties on your scalp, it can help to heal, you know, your scalp when those damages occur. So let's say you have, you know, broken hair strands or like carelessly operated hair strands mistakenly, because sometimes even if you're not intentionally like just carelessly snapping your hair, sometimes even when you're gentle, you can still like mistakenly uproot some hair strands in the process, you know. And so when this happens, when you use products, especially oils that have healing properties, it can help to speed up the healing process. Now, should you use products in your hair, in your locks? Now, the answer to this is it depends. I know I keep saying like it depends when it comes to like when I give advice here on my channel, but the reason why I say it depends is that it depends on the person. I don't believe that like there's one size fits all when it comes to caring for hair in general, whether locks or loose hair. I feel like there are general rules that people say based on what we've seen work for many people. But even with all of that, there are still exceptions to all these rules, right? You know, so there's no one size fits all. For me personally, I feel like you don't have to use hair products for you to have healthy locks. You know, I've seen so many people who use zero, like they only use shampoo and that's all, you know, and they still have healthy looking rich locks, right? You don't have to. But if you use products correctly, products can actually be beneficial to the hair. Now I have clients who use zero products in their locks, and I have clients who use products in their locks, right? And what I've noticed, like the major difference between the two that I have noticed, is people who use products in their locks, their hair tends to look a certain way. Like if they use product correctly, their hair tends to look like more vibrant, you know, than people who use absolutely nothing. Now when you're first starting out, like for like the first year or so of your lock journey, you can't really tell the difference in whether someone uses products or not, especially if the person has produced a lot of sebum from their scalp and things like that. Not everyone is going to need, like, not everyone is going to have to use products, because there are certain people who produce a lot of oils on their scalp naturally, you know, and for people like that, they may not necessarily need to produce to use products, especially on their scalp, because their scalp is like always lubricated and like nourished by their sebum, right? But there are certain people who have dry scalp and like issues on their scalp, and for people like that, using an oil that has healing properties or that is beneficial, and sometimes it's just all about finding what oil your scalp likes, right, can actually be beneficial to their scalp. It can help to, you know, treat or prevent the dryness on their scalp, which can also help to encourage healthy hair growth, because healthy scalp grows healthy hair. So like I said, not everyone is going to need that, but there are certain people who have to use products, and so if you're not using products, especially on their scalp, they can have issues, and it can actually affect whether or not they grow healthy locks, right? That said, even for people who don't like necessarily have to use products to have healthy hair growing from their scalp, using products can also help how the hair looks, like how the length of the locks look while it grows. Like I said earlier, what I've noticed is people who use products, eventually as their locks get older and older, and the locks get farther and farther from the scalp, you notice that people who use products on the length of their locks, they tend to have locks that look a little bit more vibrant than people who don't use products. And that just goes to, you know, what I said earlier about products serving as like a protective layer on the hair, because the longer and longer your locks get, the farther and farther it is from the scalp, and so whatever sebum your scalp produces, it gets almost impossible for it to travel down the length of the locks. So you're not going to have that protective layer on the length of the locks, and so you're going to need an external thing that's going to help to supplement what your scalp already produces. So I feel like everyone can benefit from using products. However, how you use the products and what kind of products you use matters, right? If you do not use products correctly, using products can actually be detrimental to the health of your locks, and that's why you find people who use oils, who have been using oils for a very long time, or been using products for a very long time, and they have one or two issues, and then as soon as they stop, they feel like, oh, like my hair feels so much better, my scalp feels so much better because I stopped using products. And that's because, number one, they're probably using products that are not good for them, or they are using too much. When it comes to locks, you don't need too much. Like I said earlier, you're not applying products in your locks to give you something that you do not have. You're applying products in your locks to help to support what you already have or like protect what you already have. And so I see so many people, when they're applying oils, or even when they're applying other hair products that contain oils in there, you go ahead, you see them apply a lot. You don't need to apply a lot of products in your locks. You need just a little. When it comes to, I mean, it's not even only locks, like even loose natural hair. And I know that when I had loose natural hair, I used to do this unconsciously. Now looking back, I'm like, I probably could have I didn't need all of those products that I was applying in my hair, right? So you don't need a lot of products. You need just little to get your desired result. So if you're someone who is using a lot of products, you may not be getting the benefits of using products because you're using too much. Now, what kind of products should you use? Because the kind of products you use also matters, especially when you have locks. If you're going to be reaping the benefits of hair products or benefits of oils, right? So what kind of products should you use? Now, as a general rule, I feel like when you have locks, you should be picking products that are lightweight and like easy to wash out. Like the lighter the products, the better, right? And whenever you use products that are thick or like that are heavy, you should use a very little amount. Now, for me, you guys know that I use shea butter and in the lock community, shea butter is like a taboo. So many people are against using shea butter, but I've been able to successfully use shea butter for my locks so far, and even for the locks of other people, without having any issues. And that's because I use just a little bit of shea butter. When you're using thick products, you can get away with using thick products if you use the right amount, like a little. The thicker the products, the more concentrated it is, and the less amounts that you're going to need to use. So that's the general rule of thumb. Pick something that is lightweight, and if you must use something that is heavy, use a very little amount. Now, another thing you want to look out for when you're picking products that you want to use for your locks is the more natural, the better. You don't want to be using products that have a lot of chemicals in there, because chemicals are a little bit more complicated to get out, and so your chances of getting build up is kind of higher when your products contain all these like silicones and all these other chemicals that are bulky, and you really don't understand how to get them out, right? So the more natural, the better, generally. Now, another thing you want to bear in mind is when it comes to products on your scalp, you want to make sure that you're using something lightweight. You should not be using anything heavy on the scalp, because the scalp is covered, right? And it doesn't take much for your scalp to become clogged, right? Because your scalp is already producing oils. Even if you have dry scalp, your scalp is already producing a certain level of oil. So you just need something that just helps to supplement or like heal whenever you have damage in there. So you want to pick, whenever you're using products, whenever you're picking products that you want to use for your scalp, you want to pick something that is lightweight, right? For your locks, you can get away with using something thick if you use a little amount, but for your scalp, you want to make sure that you're picking something that is more lightweight, right? You may also be able to get away with something that is thick if you use a little bit, because I know for the early stages of my lock journey, I used to use Jamaican black castor oil for my scalp, which is not light, it's actually quite heavy, but I use a little quantity. But I feel like generally for your scalp, it is better for you to pick something that is lightweight. Another thing you want to bear in mind when you're using products, if you want to get desired results, is you want to make sure that you're washing your locks thoroughly, at least once a month. If you're using oils or any kind of hair products in general, this is to help prevent buildup, because the longer that you have a lot of products in your locks, the more difficult it's going to be for you to get it out, right? So you want to make sure that at least once a month, try to go ahead and wash your locks thoroughly. What I mean is, you're not just putting shampoo on your scalp and letting the shampoo run down the length of your hair while you rinse. No, that will not cut it. If you're using products in your locks, you want to make sure that you pay attention to the length of your locks and wash thoroughly. If you like to see how I personally like to wash my own locks, I share all of that in my online course and also in my members only playlist. So if you want to see how I wash thoroughly, you can go ahead and check them out. I'll link the details to all of that in the description box and also in the iCard. Another thing you want to bear in mind when you're using products in your locks is, whatever products you want to introduce into your hair routine, you want to do the wash test, what I like to call the wash test. So what I mean is, take your shampoo and the temperature of water that you normally use to wash your locks, take a small, maybe like a handful or like a little dab of the products that you're trying to introduce into your routine. Put it somewhere, maybe put it like in your sink or whatever, and mix your shampoo with the temperature of water that you normally wash your locks with. Pour it on that product and see whether it disperses the product or like it washes the product. If it does not disperse the product or like disintegrate the product and like wash it, there's a high chance that that product should not be introduced into your routine until you probably find a shampoo that can get it out. That is a nice rule of thumb that I feel that you can use to prevent build up even before it happens, to know whether you can wash out the products even before you start applying it into your locks. For me, I always wash my locks with Dudu Ocean black soap and warm to hot water, right? And like I said earlier, I use shea butter for my locks. And so when I mix that and I just pour it on shea butter, like woof, the hot water helps like melt the shea butter, and then the black soap just woof, it just washes it out. And so I know that, and that's why even though I use a little bit of shea butter, but even at that, like when I wash my locks, I get rid of everything because of how I wash it. This is something I highly recommend. Before you introduce any product into your routine, make sure that your washing technique is enough to get it out. Another thing you want to bear in mind when you're using products in your locks or when you're introducing products into your locks is you want to make sure that when it comes to the length of your locks, you want to make sure that you're using products that have sun protecting factor. Like I said earlier, one of the major reasons why you should even use products in your locks is to help protect the length of your locks from damages of the sun, you know. And the best way to do this is to make sure that you're picking products that have ingredients that have sun protecting factors. Or if you're introducing oils, you want to make sure that you're using an oil that has sun protective factor. You can just go ahead and Google it. Whatever oil you want to introduce, check it out and see if it has sun protective factor. You're going to find all that information on Google. Like I said, I use shea butter. Shea butter has amazing sun protective factor. And so that's actually one of the reasons why I continued to use shea butter even when I started my locks, even though many people frowned against it in the lock community. It was just to help protect my hair from damages of the sun, right? Now, another thing I feel like you should bear in mind when you're introducing products into your hair routine, into your lock routine, is that nothing can take the place of plain water. So always make sure that water is your number one source of moisture, especially if you're someone who is experiencing dryness. Now, if you live in an environment where the water that comes out from your tap is hard, obviously hard water is not going to work as good as soft water. And so if you're using hard water, you may be using it and it can actually be what is making your hair dry. So you want to probably buy distilled water from the store or whatever, but just make sure that water is number one source of moisture. Use more water and less products, and I feel like that is the general rule of thumb if you want to use hair products successfully when it comes to your locks. Now, the next question I feel like I should address is whether you should use products on just your scalp or you should use products on both your scalp and the length of your locks. Now, I think I've already hinted on this previously, but I feel like it depends. If you're someone who has a lot of, like, your scalp produces a lot of sebum and you have no issues whatsoever with, like, your scalp is always greasy even when you do absolutely nothing to it, then you may not necessarily need to apply products on your scalp, right? Now, if you have issues like, you know, on your scalp that you need to heal or you need to fix, yeah, you can introduce products. But if you're someone who you feel like, my scalp is already greasy, I don't need any extra thing, then you may not apply products on your scalp. And if your hair is still very short, just by plain, like, rinsing your locks from time to time can help move all that sebum from your scalp to the length of your locks. And so for someone like that, when your hair is short, you may not necessarily need to apply products, but I feel like it's always a good idea to apply products on the length of your locks if you want your locks to kind of like maintain its natural sheen and shine for as long as possible. I feel like introducing something that your hair likes or like your locks like on the length of your locks can actually be quite beneficial. So yeah, you can go ahead and apply products on on the length of your locks and also on your scalp, depending on what you feel that your locks need. So I hope with all of that I've been able to help you figure out if you should introduce products into your hair routine. Like I said earlier, it depends on you. It depends on what your goals are for your locks and what you're trying to achieve. Now, for me, I use shea butter on the length of my locks. You guys that are not new to my channel, you guys know that I use shea butter on the length of my locks to help, you know, protect my hair, my locks from damages of the sun and things like that. And I also use the Okibe multi-purpose healing oil for my scalp, and that is to help heal my scalp when, you know, I have issues. Maybe I've mistakenly uprooted hair strands where I did not plan to and things like that, just to help make sure that my scalp is always producing hair in its thick and rich form, even while I go through things in life. Right? And how I even actually started using that was one time I had, you know, issues on my edges and the oil helped to regrow it, and so I just continued to use it. So if you guys would like to, you know, get the products I use, everything is available on my website. So I'm going to put the link down in the description box if you're interested. So with that, we'll come to the end of this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it and I hope you guys learned one or two things. If you did, don't forget to give the video a thumbs up. And if this is your first time on my channel and you'd like to see more videos from me, then definitely subscribe. Thank you so much for watching. See you guys in my next video.